in the thick darkness that covers the deep sea off the North Atlantic. A streak of light as long as the Milky Way quietly glides across the water. It is not a meteor or a spaceship, but the brilliant light emitted from a red shrimp trawler, a giant machine designed like a floating factory. Operating non-stop day and night. In the deep ocean, millions of red shrimp, precious creatures with bright red shells and rich, sweet meat, are being caught up in a fateful journey, where humans and technology merge to create one of the most spectacular fishing activities on the planet. Unlike small boats anchored near the shore, these modern trawlers hundreds of meters long are real fortresses on the sea. Each can hold up to thousands of tons of seafood, equipped with radar systems, satellite positioning, sonar sensors that scan the seabed to detect red shrimp hiding in crevices and soft mud. Fishermen no longer rely solely on experience or intuition, they have a team of engineers, machine operators and a central computer system that looks like something out of a sci-fi movie. When the positioning system identifies a dense concentration of red shrimp, the command is transmitted in a split second. Two giant hydraulic arms lower down, pulling along hundreds of meters of nets that open up like the mouth of a sea monster. The net is specially designed, with extremely small meshes and super durable fabric that can withstand strong ocean currents and sharp reefs. It crawls close to the seabed, where red shrimp live, small but tough creatures that hide in the mud. Among the cold and dark reefs, a trawl is more than just a cloth bag. Each net, worth tens of thousands of dollars, has a system of sensors to measure the fullness, a device to detect the type of creatures being caught, and can even be remotely controlled to close or open the net mouth right in the middle of the sea. When the sensor indicates that the net is full, the hydraulic system begins to lift the net. That is when the roar of the engine echoes throughout the deck. Tons of red shrimp are lifted from the seabed, sparkling under the lights like countless rubies rising from the black ocean. The scene is so captivating that anyone who witnesses it cannot take their eyes off it. Hundreds of tons of red shrimp pour down stainless steel chutes, pouring straight into the processing line right on the ship. Not a single second is wasted. As soon as the shrimp fall from the net, they are sent through an automatic sorting system, conveyor belts with hundreds of electronic eyes and robotic grippers that will sort the shrimp by size. Removing impurities and mixed-in creatures such as crabs, small fish, and seabed trash. The qualified shrimps are transferred directly to the washing chamber with 0 degrees Celsius cold water. Then into the rapid steaming chamber to kill bacteria. Immediately after that is the super-fast freezing process, the heart of the ship. The freezing system uses -60 degrees Celsius cold air, modern cryogenic technology from Japan, which can freeze shrimps in less than 20 minutes. Preserving the freshness and texture of the meat as when they were first picked up from the sea. Meanwhile, the workers, engineers, and technicians work like a well-oiled machine, coordinating each step with absolute precision. On the ship, there is no concept of day or night, all activities take place continuously 24/7. In shifts, with artificial lighting like at noon. The smell of the sea, the smell of cooked shrimp, the cold of ice, and the mechanical noise blend into a strange symphony. Some people compare this place to a space factory on the sea. Where people ride the waves, challenge nature and exploit the best from the ocean floor. But behind the modernity and scale are stories of hardship, sweat and blood, because this job is not for the faint-hearted. Fishermen live for weeks at sea, facing storms, big waves as high as 5-story buildings, ice clinging to the deck. They sleep hastily in cramped compartments, eat simple food, and always have to be alert for work accidents. Cranes and winches can crush anyone careless in a split second. But for them, each trip is a battle and a conquest. Because when they return, they bring back hundreds of tons of red shrimp, the red gold of the ocean. Sought after by markets across Asia, Europe and North America, as the pale light of dawn began to flicker over the sea. Thick layers of fog still obscured visibility. But inside the ship, the production line did not slow down. Cold air rising from the freezers condensed into a thin layer of fog covering the steel walls, making the space inside the ship look like a nuclear reactor operating at maximum power. Each tray of super-fast frozen red shrimp is automatically stacked into layers and transferred to deep storage tanks, where the temperature is always maintained below -40 degrees Celsius. There, hundreds of tons of red shrimp are being preserved in the most optimal conditions, ready to be shipped straight to supermarkets and high-end restaurants around the world after the ship docks. But before reaching that finished product stage, each red shrimp must go through a rigorous selection journey. Color scanning sensors will classify shrimp by shell color, those with a deep red color. Smooth and shiny shell, and even color will be transferred to the high-end area. Those with slightly bruised, scratched shells, or not yet reaching the ideal size will be classified as secondary products, used to process frozen foods, broths, or transferred to the mainland factory to produce shrimp cakes, packaged soups, or ready-to-eat foods. Also inside that ship, there is a quality control room like in an international production facility. Here, a team of technicians wearing white protective suits, masks and gloves, work just like scientists. They check the freshness, protein content, pH of the shrimp meat, analyze microorganisms and even randomly sample shrimp for cooking tests, ensuring that every batch meets the export standards of the EU. Japan and the US, the most demanding markets in the world. Red shrimp, English name, deep-sea red shrimp or Pandalus borealis, is one of the most valuable seafood species in the North Atlantic and cold waters around Greenland. Iceland and Canada, they live at depths of 200 to 600 meters below the seabed, where light is almost impossible to reach. They move slowly, live alone or in small groups, hiding in soft mud and cold rocks. Therefore, to approach them, people must use bottom trawls, an indispensable tool in the fishing of this special shrimp species. But pulling a net at such depths is no easy task. The pressure at the bottom of the sea is enough to crush any weak material. The water temperature drops to near 0 degrees Celsius. Every net system, cable, buoy, mouth net, and winch must be designed with special materials, titanium-plated steel, high-strength synthetic fibers, and anti-corrosion coatings. The entire process takes several hours, and requires careful coordination between machines and humans. Just a small technical error, tangled net lines, water pressure bending the net frame, or a jammed hydraulic system, can completely ruin the trip. In the control room, the captain and his team of technicians monitor every parameter via a modern touch-screen system, towing speed, depth, seabed pressure, net resistance, and ship speed. Each time the net is pulled, the ship consumes thousands of liters of fuel, requiring precise steering skills down to the meter. Fishermen joke that fishing for red shrimp requires more than just strength, it also requires intelligence. And indeed, To steer a large capacity trawler in the vast ocean, against strong currents and harsh weather, is a pinnacle of maritime art. The work goes on non-stop. When a net is pulled in, the processing department is still processing the shrimp, while the technical team on deck is already preparing the second net. They check every joint, every rope, every smallest detail to ensure that the next net drop will be perfect. Under the bright white lights, the fishermen wear thick protective clothing, rubber boots, and cold-resistant gloves. Sweat mixed with salty seawater. The cold wind whips at their faces, and the sea sprays white. But they still work hard, like silent warriors in the vast ocean. There are times when the work is not favorable. There are days when the net is pulled up and contains only mud. Rocks and seaweed, sighs, head shakes, and heavy disappointment were evident in everyone's eyes. But no one gave up. They understood that fishing is a profession of patience and courage. A failed catch does not mean the trip is meaningless. Because just one lucky chance, a full catch of red shrimp, hundreds of tons in one haul, can bring in millions of dollars in revenue for the entire ship. On board, there are not only fishermen but also technology experts, freezing technicians, chefs, mechanical engineers, and quality control staff. Each person has a task. No one is allowed to make mistakes, because just one small error in the chain, for example, shrimp not being frozen at the right temperature, will cause the entire batch to be rejected when arriving at the port. Causing billions of dollars in damage. While the work on the ship was going on in a hurry, no one forgot a moment to admire the magical beauty of the ocean. When the sun rose, the golden light poured onto the sparkling sea like jade. Flocks of seabirds flew. Dolphins sometimes danced along the waves beside the ship. Amidst the hardship and harshness, there were still poetic moments that made people feel calm. Because the ocean itself, though wild and harsh, is still the origin of life, of many generations of fishermen who have been attached to the sea like flesh and blood. For those who have never set foot on a red shrimp fishing boat, it is probably difficult for them to imagine the level of modernity, pressure and majesty that offshore fishing brings. But for experienced sailors, people who have lived half their lives in the ocean, every roar of the engine, every slight jerk of the winch when the net is stretched, and the rushing sound when the red shrimps pour like waterfalls onto the deck, is the call of the ocean, the sound of life, of hope, and of survival. They go to sea not only for food and clothing, but also for a very special feeling, the feeling of conquering and mastering nature. Each successful net, each night of high-yield fishing, is a victory not only of human strength but also of intelligence. The coordination between humans and machines, between fishermen's instincts and modern technology. They understand that, for red shrimps from the deep ocean to be neatly placed on packaging trays in luxury supermarkets in Tokyo, Paris or New York, there must be a huge journey behind it, a journey in which they are the pioneers. After each fishing trip lasting several weeks, when the ship is loaded with hundreds of tons of frozen red shrimp, it begins to turn back toward the mainland. The return journey is not easy. Because the weather on the ocean is always an unpredictable game. There are times when the ship has to overcome snowstorms with winds of over level 10. Waves tens of meters high. Each wave hits the side of the ship like a sledgehammer, causing the entire hull to shake. But inside, the assembly line is still running. The fishermen are still holding their positions. And the trays of red shrimp continue to be neatly arranged in the cold storage. In the control room, the experienced captain follows the electronic map, plotting the safest route to bring the treasure back to port. When the ship docks, all activities take place at a dizzying speed. Specialized forklifts, hydraulic cranes, and an automatic conveyor system extend from inside the ship to the port. Boxes of red shrimp frozen at sub-zero temperatures begin to be unloaded. They are transported directly to refrigerated containers or distribution plants right next to the port. In many countries, such as Iceland, Greenland, or Canada, large fishing ports such as Reykjavik, St. John's, or Nuuk almost never sleep, day or night. As soon as a ship arrives, the port immediately becomes as lively as a giant anthill. Shipments of red shrimp from here are distributed all over the world. In Japan, famous sushi restaurants hunt for batches of red shrimp originating from the North Atlantic, because the shrimp meat from the cold sea is sweeter, firmer, and has a superior natural flavor. In France and Italy, red shrimp are considered a premium ingredient in appetizers or high-end seafood noodles. In the US and Canada, large supermarkets have a premium cold water shrimp section, red cold water shrimp, advertised as a specialty of the sea. Each red shrimp is not just food, but also represents an international value chain where technology, people and natural resources combine to create a top-notch product. In red shrimp exporting countries, such as Iceland, fishing is more than just a profession, it is a source of national pride. The government invests heavily in modern fleets, provides technical support, develops shrimp preservation and processing technology right at sea, and even trains a new generation of captains according to European, American and Japanese standards. Universities and research institutes are also involved in the production chain. They improve shrimp breeds, develop experimental farming technology, optimize freezing and packaging processes to increase the value of the product. Meanwhile, fishermen, despite spending most of their time at sea, are always updated with new technology. They use phone apps to track nautical charts, update weather, and share data on shrimp school locations in real time. Modern fishing vessels are also equipped with artificial intelligence that can predict areas with high shrimp densities based on water temperature, depth, currents, and even data from other vessels. A true digital revolution is taking place right on the chilly waves of the North Atlantic. However, with all that modernity, red shrimp fishing still retains the human quality, the soul of the sea. No machine can replace the experienced eyes of a veteran fisherman when he looks at a point of water and guesses there is a school of shrimp below. No artificial intelligence can replace the navigational instinct of a captain who has weathered hundreds of storms at sea. And no system, no matter how sophisticated, can maintain the spirit of solidarity, discipline, and silent sacrifice of people living in the middle of the ocean, the unsung heroes of the sea. In cold waters like the ones off Greenland, where the water is frozen all year round and the sun only shines for a few hours a day in winter, red shrimp fishing is not simply labor, but a fight for survival. During the peak season, hundreds of powerful fishing boats depart from large ports, heading to the deep sea in the hope of finding a dense vein of red shrimp. The ships move in formation, each nautical mile apart, moving like a well-organized army. They constantly communicate via radio waves, sharing sonar and radar data, and even images of the seabed from remotely operated diving robots. The diving robot, ROV, remotely operated vehicle, is a powerful tool in surveying the deep seabed where red shrimp live. With a high-resolution camera, strong lights and mechanical arms, the robot can dive hundreds of meters deep without being damaged by water pressure. It will record images of schools of red shrimp crawling on the muddy bottom, clearly identify high-density areas and send information back to the mothership. Thanks to that, instead of dragging the net blindly like before, fishermen can now choose the right spot, hit the right place, saving time, fuel, and increasing efficiency many times over. Among the new innovations are trawls with bio-escapes, narrow slits that allow small fish, crabs and unwanted bottom creatures to escape during trawling. Some boats also use acoustic analysis systems to identify the distinctive sounds of each species, which helps them know when to drop their nets. Fishermen are no longer thinking only about output, but also about long-term sustainability. They know that if they overfish today, there will be nothing left for their children tomorrow.